The forced destiny. Joan, an ambitious young man in his early life studying at the university, dreams of a qualitative shift in his tired life in the countryside to a developed city life and a leisurely life. And suddenly his life turns from this context to the world of criminality and crime involuntarily. So all the coincidences he encountered oblige him to crime professionalism on a road from which he cannot return. From a life of optimism, ambition, and university to leading the largest criminal and drug gang and the professionalism of its leadership. Part 1. The life of the current hero of the story, Joan, in the village. Joan lives in a small village consisting of about 20 houses. And in the vicinity there are about 3 villages consisting of the same number of inhabitants. The inhabitants of all these villages depend on grazing livestock almost as it is their main source of livelihood. And for the scarcity of water, these villages depend on a single source of water for watering the livestock, which is a well located in close proximity to these villages. And life is tiring in this environment. There is no room for life and survival except to take care of these cattle and work tiredly from the morning until the end of the day. This is in addition to studying and spending some of the needs of the parents. In most cases, children do not enjoy a spoiled childhood like city children. John lives with his family, consisting of his mother, father, brother and sister. And he has a friend named Matt. They meet after the school day for some time just so that he can join some work with his father with the livestock. Joan was one of the most outstanding scholars and ambitious and was always considering about the fate of this village. And he always talks with Matt about this fate and about the solutions to change his life for the better. His dream is to move to the city and start life there. However, his friend, Matt, was always demoralizing him. And his destiny is like the fate of the rest of the youth in the village to finish high school, and then work permanently with livestock, a traditional marriage and build a family like his father and the rest people of the village. And John was not convinced of these ideas at all. John was influenced by the mathematics teacher, Mick, as he is his example and his window through which he takes the stories of the city and the life there, as Mick comes from the city to teach in the village. So Joan was always asking his teacher about life in the city and the nature of the people there. And Joan was eager day after day to go to the city. Joan is one of the best students in school. He and his sweetheart, Katie, and the reason for this was first because he was very intelligent. And secondly, he dreamed of a mission to the university, which is his chance to fulfill his dream of going to the city despite the lack of time for studying, as this lack was due to his preoccupation with his father in taking care of the cattle. But Joan had a peerless intelligence and kept up a lot to achieve his dream and was encouraged by Katie, who used to share his dreams. They share love and goals. Despite her beauty, she is intelligent and has a high endeavor, as she does not admire rest of the village young men, because their thoughts are frothy. And she believes in Joan, his thoughts and the inevitable change for all of them to move to the city for a better life. The final exams for Joan and Katie's last year approached, and Joan started to do his best to achieve high grades. His teacher, Mick, was encouraging him to do his best, and he would help him to find a scholarship for him to achieve the required rates for universities in the city. This motivation was strong for him and Katie together to achieve the dream. Indeed, the tests began and ended, and the promising day came to see the final results. Joan and Katie came to the school, and they were greeted by their teacher Mick, who hugged Joan with joy and told him the result. Joan's rate was incomparable and he was the first in the batch. John started crying and rejoiced for what he got and repeated, "I did it. I will move to the city, I will fulfill my dream." And teacher Mick was responding, "Yes, you did it." The teacher did not wait long to start correspondence with the universities there. And after a few weeks, the responses came with refusal from most universities because of the sufficiency of the pre-accepted numbers regarding scholarships. But if he wanted to study on his own account, the study is available to everyone. The teacher Mick and Joan began to lose their patience regarding the free scholarship to study. And frustration began to hit John's heart. And his friend Matt was always telling him, Did I not tell you before that your destiny is to work with cattle for the rest of your years, like your father and others? John did not succumb to this destiny and asked teacher Mick to send letters again to universities in the hope of a promising response from any university. And after several weeks, the teacher Mick received some letters and was frustrated with them as the preceded ones were not very promising, and started to open the letters until he found acceptance for Joan on a mission for outstanding students. The teacher, Mick, did not believe what he was reading, and went running to Joan's house to ask his mother about Joan and where he was then. His mother responded to him that Joan was with his father tending the cattle. He went as quickly as possible to find Joan busy with his father, and screamed before he reached him, "You have been accepted on the mission, Joan." And Joan tried to hear well from the teacher, and Mick repeated it. When Joan understood what he heard, he fell on his knees crying with joy about this piece of news, and the dream which he was waiting. Joan could not stand up and move, and his eyes were flashing downwards while repeating to the teacher, "Repeat what you said quietly." "Please," the teacher repeated. "You have been accepted on the mission, Joan." "Yes, you have been accepted." Then John came and was hugging the teacher in a situation mixed with joy and sadness. That joy did not last long because of Joan's family, as his mother began to cry because she did not want Joan to leave her, as she hates the city. And this is due to a certain reason. John's older brother died several years ago in a fatal car accident, because of young men from the city who came for a ride and collided with his older brother's car and died. So she hates the city and the people of the city, and she does not want to lose her son Joan in the city. The city is, in her eyes, the source of demons. As for his father, he wanted him to help in raising livestock and taking care of his family. He was always repeating to him that he would lose years of his age in studying, and the final result would be a certificate. And then returning to the village to work in caring for the cattle, as living in the city is so costly. And there was another reason for not completing the joy, which is that his sweetheart Katie, who was not accepted into the mission at all. This was something that worried Joan and makes his joy incomplete. Except that he insisted on completing the dream, he and his teacher, Mick, who was convincing John's father and mother of the necessity to agree to their son so as to join a better life for all of them. After a great effort, they reluctantly agreed. As for Katie, the situation affected her and Joan. They all showed the utmost sadness. They met in the field in a place where they used to sit, and it was a night full of sweet memories they spent together. These memories are represented in the study, and the beautiful situations in which all of that was accompanied with tears pouring down from their eyes. During Ondine, the midst of these endless feelings, Katie spoke, saying, "Stop it all, stop it, listen Tome Joan. You must go. I lived for this dream and this is being reached. You must go, but I want you to keep a promise that you will not forget me. I will wait for you no matter what the matter costs." Indeed, he gave her the promise. And then she said jokingly that the young women of the city are beautiful. Pay attention to your promises. After nearly 2 weeks, John started preparing his clothes and all the things related to travel to the city. And he was very enthusiastic. So his mother gave him a souvenir, which is a necklace of silver, and said to him, "This is not only from me, but from all your family, so that you can remember us and do not forget us for a moment. We are longing for your return," and started crying while he tried to calm her down and repeated with sympathy, "My mother, we do not want to repeat everything that we have started in the discussion on this subject. Please do not cry, it will be easy for both of us. It is only a matter of time. Let us finish it without pain." And after a week, the promising day came for Joan's departure to the city. It was a day which was not different from the rest of John's sad days of the last week. Most of the feelings were sadness lurking over everyone. The means of transportation from the village to the city was only by car, as the area was almost remote and there was no means of transportation to the city other than the car. Nearly everyone came to say goodbye to him, including his family, his sweetheart, Katie, his friends, and also his teacher, Mick, who promised to contact him regularly. and send his news to his family in the event that he received a call from him. Because the village did not have a mobile phone service, only landlines, which were also not available except in the school, John finally moved to the city with great hopes for the future and much sadness he left behind in the village, wishing to overcome it. The morals. Do not think that every need, poverty, and lack of resources is a misfortune for a person. As from the womb of calamities, the incentive for change is created. Do not believe in equal destiny. It does not mean that those around you are necessarily frustrated. You must be as frustrated as them. Create your world. Be optimistic. Whoever loves you will sacrifice for you. Because love is not just feelings, but actions that translate this love. Stay tuned for the second part of the story. With Joan's new life at the university, the story of his return after the first year, and the story of the well in the village, which was a fundamental reason for John's transformation into the world of criminality and crime.